Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of the Capable Minds podcast. Today we have Darcey Corria, former Miss Wales and Miss World contestant. As always, please like, share and subscribe to our channel to help us grow. And before we get started, ask yourselves one question: what makes you capable?
Capable Minds podcast.
Darcey, thank you very much for coming to speak to us today on the Capable Minds podcast. Can you start just by telling the audience at home who you are, where you're from, and give us a brief sort of description about what you do?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here. So my name is Darcey Corria. I am from Barry and I'm 23. I was Miss Wales for the last 2 years and I do some freelance modelling, mostly bridal. So yeah.
Amazing. So can you take us back to like the early life? Do you remember when you first started sort of getting into like the interest of like pageants, beauty and that sort of thing? Do you remember?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was never necessarily interested in pageants as such, but my mum's very glamorous, so I was always like exposed to makeup and beauty and fashion. But I think when I was young, I was always quite insecure. Being mixed race and not seeing a lot of mixed race women in the media and things, I was just always very insecure. So it was then as I got into like my teenage years and sort of found myself and found my style and everything that things started to flourish, I guess.
Yeah. Would you say your mum was like your biggest inspiration then?
Yeah, definitely.
And how did she inspire you?
She's just a trooper. She does everything for everybody else and never asks for anything back.
Yeah. I love people like that.
Yeah.
So do you remember when you got into like the first sort of like pageant or competition for beauty or anything like that? Do you remember the first time and how did that come about? Yeah,
so it's funny actually. My mum was just always one of those pushy mums. She wanted me to try everything and like find my niche. And then she came home the one day, she tried everything, piano, ballet, I quit everything. And then she came home the one day and she was like, I've signed you up for Miss Wales. And I said, I'm not doing that. I just didn't have a clue what it was. And she was like begging me, please go to the interview, please. And I was like, what, you filled the whole form in for me? And she was like, yeah, it's all done. Just go to the interview. So then I went to the interview, didn't have a clue what it was about, what it would entail. And then met the director of Miss Wales and just every word she said I was clinging on to and I just, fell in love with it. And then my whole mindset on it completely changed and I got accepted and went for it when I was like 17, 18. That was the first time that I did it.
Oh, okay. So what were the feelings you had when you got the sort of acceptance message or letter? How did that happen? Did they send you a letter or what?
Yeah, so it was via email. I had my interview and then I had an email whilst I was on holiday and I was just over the moon. I was shocked, to be honest. And I felt like, it was just the right move to make. And at that age, it was just a really healthy thing for me to get involved in to sort of find out who I was going to be as a woman, if that makes sense.
It gives you like a sense of purpose kind of thing.
Yeah, sense of purpose. And in a way, it was quite like self-validating. I was good enough to do Miss Wales, so I'd be good enough to try anything sort of thing.
Especially because you said in your younger years you were quite insecure.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Obviously getting that acceptance from something like Miss Wales, which is about image and everything like that probably gives you that, like you said, validation.
Definitely.
So at the start, do you feel like there was any negative reactions from like your family or your wider circle of friends?
No, there was nothing from my family and my friends. I've got such a good support network around me. But I did have a comment years ago when I was working in a salon that, that's the type of thing I would keep my daughters away from. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, why would you keep your daughters away from a pageant? And the lady just said that she wouldn't want her daughters to be exposed to being judged just by their looks. Mm-hmm. And I've had that a lot, and anytime I get that, it's just trying to educate people that is literally just scratching the surface. Like there's so much more to it, and it's so much more involved in it. So along the way, I've had to try and educate quite a few people as to what it really is and how pageantry has transformed to what it was many, many years ago to what it is now. Yeah,
because like in the press and media and stuff like that, it depends on like what angle you're reading it from. Mm-hmm. But obviously you're involved in it, you're going to see more of the positive stuff. Yeah. And I guess if you're not involved in that sort of industry, then all you're going to really see is the negative press and that sort of thing. So it depends on the glasses you're looking through, I guess, doesn't it? Yeah. And you know, the people around you, when you said there weren't much negative comments when you first got into it, what were the sort of positive things that people would like speak to you and say?
Everyone was just really excited for me. And I think it was, even my friends and family had no idea what it involved. So everyone was just really excited, thinking that I was just going to be able to get glammed up and walk on a stage and catwalk and show myself off. And then people have also come along the journey with me, and even my friends say now, like, it's crazy how much you actually do, and then how little people see or choose to see of that.
Yeah, because one of the other things was, obviously, this day and age, mental health and everything is a massive, massive part of like what we do day to day and in society with social media and everything like that. So were you aware of like the pressures of like beauty pageants and stuff when did you start, 17?
Yeah, 17.
Like, were you aware of that sort of pressure, and did you feel like expectation on your shoulders at that young age, or?
Probably not the first time that I did it, because I was only 17. So for me, it was just a trial. It was just to see if that was something that I was interested in. So to begin with, I went in with no pressure. I didn't put any pressure on myself. Nobody else was putting pressure on me. And then I remember, I think it was like the night before the final, and I said to my mum, I hope I can get top 5. I think I could get top 5. And then on the day of the final, I was like, I really want to win this. But I hadn't done enough at the time to win it. But no, not necessarily. I didn't feel any pressure. I think then, take it the second time that I did it, the pressure was completely different. I put so much more pressure on myself, because I was going in with the mentality of, I really want to win this, and this is what I want for my life. Whereas the first time, it was just a bit of fun, really.
Fair. And what would you say to like younger girls who want to get into like pageants and stuff? Like how would you, what advice would you give them, sort of thing, to not crumble under the pressure?
I would say just go for it. Do your research, watch YouTube videos. If there's somebody like me that you see who's done it before, and you just message them, like, everybody in the pageant industry is so kind and so nice, and everybody wants other women to get involved in it, because we know how much it can benefit your life. So just watch YouTube videos, follow other girls, and sort of follow the example that other beauty queens are setting for you. That's
nice. And so you'd be open to younger girls messaging you and seeing, like, for a bit of advice. Did you have that when you started?
I messaged. I'm like, if I need anything, I will just message somebody. If I want to do something and I know that there's somebody already doing that thing, I'll message them and just ask any advice for the interview, any advice for what to wear. I think there was one girl, and I messaged her like 15 times, but every time she would answer, and now we're really good friends.
Oh, that's amazing. So let's talk about the positives a bit more then of the pageants. And obviously you do a lot of charity work. And can you tell me a little bit more about that? And what would you say are the best parts of doing this work for the pageants?
I would say how empowering they can be. I often think to myself, if I could go back to 17 and not do Miss Wales, where would my life be now, and what would I have become? Would I have been as successful? I probably wouldn't, definitely wouldn't be sat here in front of you today, wouldn't be as confident, as willing to like make new friends and put myself in uncomfortable positions. So I think it's one of those things where it really pushes you outside of your comfort zone, and you have to push yourself to do well. I always say it's not a competition. You're not competing with another girl, you're competing with yourself. It's how far you want to go with it, how much you want to do, but it's completely empowering. Walking on stage is so nerve-wracking, and then once you've done it, you feel like, gosh, I can conquer the world if I can do that. And then the charitable causes that we support, I know that with Miss World, they've raised over £1 billion for charities. And then so in Wales, over the last 20 years, we've raised, through Miss Wales, we've raised over £1 million. And then that gets distributed back into the area then. Each girl, when they win, they can choose what charity they want to donate the money to. So every girl has to fundraise, and then that gets distributed back into the country then. And
how do you choose, like the charity work that you do? Do they get do you get paired with charities, or do you go out and choose which ones you feel strongly about?
Yeah, so in pageantry we have what's called our like purpose and our project. So in Miss World you call it the Beauty with a Purpose project, and it's your platform. So that's really your pageant identity and the message that you want to push to the world. So mine was, the first time I went in, I was supporting a charity for early detection of cancer.
Yeah.
And then the second time I went in, I just knew that I wanted to focus on diversity and like anti-racism, educating people. So I supported the Black Lives Matter movement, Race Equality First, which is a charity in Cardiff. So you really have to look at who you are as a person, what difference you want to make in the world, and then your charities sort of are based on your platform then.
Yeah. And would you say since doing that sort of work, like giving back to others and raising funds for charities is something that you now hold close to your heart and you want to do more of in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like, it feels like a gift to be able to help people who are less fortunate than you, and then it makes you really appreciate the life that you have and the things that you have. And once you help someone, then you think, oh, I've helped that person, I've changed someone's life and I want to help others. So yeah, it has a domino effect.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what would you say is the time where you felt the most connected to a charity or what that charity does?
I would probably say probably Race Equality First. They help women. So I ran a fitness class for women of colour living in Barry, and it was free of charge, and they could come, and it was basically to get them to have interactions with other women of colour. So I know that they run one in Cardiff, and that is especially important for women of colour living in Cardiff, and you know, like Muslim women, for example, who may not know of other Muslim women or women who have migrated into the country and they don't have many friends, or they need to better their language and they don't feel comfortable to walk into a gym, so they can go to that fitness class and have it free of charge. So I think the work that Race Equality First does is really good. Yeah,
that sounds amazing, because obviously it's pretty daunting for anyone going into a gym, but especially if you're someone from maybe another country trying to go in there and feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
So setting up something like what you've done, it allows them to go into like a safe space sort of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
see like-minded people who look like them and feeling comfortable. So empowering. I think that's really good. This episode is brought to you by Envio Apparel, an activewear and lifestyle brand, and you can get 15% off your whole order with code CapableMinds15. Check out envioapparel.com or on socials, Envio Official. Let's get back to the podcast. So let's go back to Miss Wales. How long were you competing for before you took the win?
So I entered it at 17, 18, and I came second runner-up, which is third. And then I thought, oh gosh, I was doing my A-levels on the side of it. So my A-levels was my priority. So I remember thinking, gosh, I came third and I've been focusing on my A-levels and not really giving 100% to Miss Wales. So I can come back in a few years, and like I believed in myself that I could win it. So then the second time I just gave 110%. So you compete for about 6-7 months, and then it's the final, and then you have the title for a year. But I held the title for longer than a year because I competed for the 6 months again, won the competition, and then was meant to go to Miss World. I won in May, and then should have gone in the December, but Miss World just didn't send a date, so we knew that there wasn't going to be a Miss World that year. So then it was sort of waiting around for a date to come. And yeah, it ended up being 2 years that I was Miss Wales for, and I went just now in March. Oh,
so was there another Miss Wales in between?
Yeah, so there wasn't due to be a crossover because they announced that Miss World was going to be May last year.
Yeah.
So I should have gone then. So Miss Wales, was already booked for the handover for me to hand my crown over to the next girl. So then when Miss World postponed again, everything was booked. These girls who were competing for Miss Wales knew that they were competing, and it was just too last minute to change the date of Miss Wales. So we crowned a new Miss Wales, Millie May, and then it was sort of the both of us for a while. Me preparing to go to Miss World, and we went to an event together actually. So there was 2 Miss Wales at one event. Yeah, it was cool.
How was did you two have a good relationship even though you were both Miss Wales? Yeah,
no, lovely. I love Millie. She's a really nice girl. And it's just so friendly. Like, there's no bitterness or jealousy between anyone. Everyone's just really good friends. So it was actually quite cool to have 2 of us at once, actually.
Yeah, it's like almost like a power couple, isn't it? So how did the Miss World come about? Like, is it every year that Miss Wales goes to Miss World?
Yeah, every year. So usually it's Miss World is held every December.
Okay.
But for whatever reasons, I'm still not actually really sure, it kept being postponed. So I didn't go until this February, March.
Sure. And it was in India?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that?
Yeah, it was really good. We went to, when I first got there, we went to Gandhi's memorial. That was really cool, and his museum. But then the remainder of my time there was actually spent a lot in the hotel because we were doing rehearsals, and it was only 3 weeks, whereas usually I think they do 4 weeks. So it was quite crammed in. It was very busy, very intense. Everybody told me how busy it would be, and to like expect the unexpected and just always be ready. But you hear that and you think, oh, it can't be that busy. But then you get there and you realise.
I bet. It looked like you've done a lot.
Yeah, it was intense. It was really full. I still feel like I need to sit down and like go through all my photos and my videos and really like relive it because it was just such a whirlwind.
Amazing. It looked so good on your socials, to be fair.
Yeah, it was good.
So you became only the 2nd woman of colour to win Miss Wales. So how did that make you feel?
Oh, it was a crazy moment. I think that really heightened the feeling of pride and joy.
70 years, right? Miss Wales been going?
Yeah, around 70 years, yeah.
Crazy that is.
So I was the 2nd woman of colour. There was a woman, I think in the late 90s, early 2000s that won, and she was half Mauritius, I believe.
Yeah.
So to be the 2nd woman was just crazy, and obviously it had been around 20 years since she had won. So it just felt to me like it was time that there was a woman of colour in that position, and I just wanted to give off the message to young women who are mixed race who maybe don't feel as much as insecure as I did with their skin colour, because I think representation is getting a lot better, but for me it was just maybe just a message to my younger self, like you made it and it didn't matter. You didn't have to be white and you didn't have to be black. You can be mixed race and you can still do really well. So I just wanted to send that message to the younger generation of Wales that it really doesn't matter what shade your skin is. You can still chase your dreams. And
it's nice for younger people of a mixed background to see someone representing them and making it on the bigger stage. Yeah. So what sort of advice would you give someone in that position to go forward?
Oh, I think be yourself. Don't try to follow anybody else. Don't look at someone who's been Miss Wales or whatever pageant you're competing in and think, oh, I have to be like her.
Yeah.
That's really not the way to go. That's what I did the first time around. I tried to imitate everybody else. And then after the first experience, I really found what my passion was. So I think a big message to send is really look within yourself, find out who you are, what you're passionate about, what gives you that fire in your belly to really fight and compete and keep going, and then just channel that and really focus on it. For me, it came to be diversity, and I've been on like a crazy journey with it. All my life I wanted to be white, and then I got older and I wanted to be black, and now I've come to a point where I didn't have to be white and I didn't have to be black. Being mixed race was good enough. So knowing who you are and knowing what message you want to give to the world and just being really passionate about it and living and breathing that message. Yeah,
that's powerful.
Thanks.
That's really powerful, I think what you've done is obviously really, really inspirational, and I'm sure you would have inspired many, many people whose background is mixed like yourself.
Thank you.
Amazing, well done for that. So let's talk about something that might be a little bit difficult for you, which was the car crash that you suffered. Was it last year?
Yeah, last January. I'm glad the tissue's there.
Yeah, can you talk to me a little bit more about obviously how that came about and the recovery process and everything? So
yeah, Deep breath.
Yeah, you're all right. Take your time. Take your time.
So yeah, last January, everything was just like going so well for me. I had an amazing new boyfriend. I was Miss Wales. I was hoping that, well, I was meant to be going to Miss World in the May. Everything was just really going well for me, and I was in the place that I wanted to be in life. And I was asked, I'm sponsored, as Miss Wales, you're sponsored by a dress company down in Swansea.
Okay.
So they basically rent you for free any dress that you need for an occasion, a charity gala, anything like that. So I had a few dresses in my house that needed to go back, and I had a message to say, could you bring the dresses back because prom season is coming and they needed them in the store. So I said, oh, yeah, that's fine. I'll come down on Wednesday. So then I had a message on Tuesday night saying, don't come down. Weather's too bad. It's fine. So I said, oh, okay, I'll come down on Thursday. Like, we'll leave it Wednesday, but I'll come down on Thursday. Should be fine by then. Thinking it was just going to be fine.
Yeah.
So made my way down, drove down to Swansea. Got there, gave the dresses back, chatted for a little bit. Then I had a training session with my pageant coach, Emma Jenkins, which was meant to be via Zoom, but I changed it to in person because I was going down to Swansea anyway. So I had the training session with her and literally planned out my next 3 months until the Miss World competition, everything I was going to do on socials, things I was going to attend. And then on my way home, I was driving and it had been cold. The night before, it was like really icy. So I was driving along, everything was fine, and then all of a sudden it was just that dreaded noise of, you know, when like you water plane and it's just that sound of the water gushing. It was that sound, and then basically instantly I just hit the central reservation and then sort of span, like sort of bounced off the central reservation and span. And I remember thinking, oh my God, your mum is going to kill you because you've probably written your car off, or you're not going to have a car and she's going to have to run you around. But I was absolutely fine. There were literally no injuries. I looked in front, I came to a stop and I looked in front of me and I thought, that's the central reservation in front of me. So then I looked out of my window and I was sort of more across the fast lane, but halfway into the middle lane. Looked out the window and saw a car in the middle lane and a car in the fast lane. And I thought, one of them is going to hit me in a second. I need to get out of this car. So made the decision to take my seatbelt off and then climb over, like on all fours, to the passenger seat.
Yeah.
Was about to open the door. And as I was about to open the door, I thought, oh, I wonder how close they are. Looked back. And as I turned my neck to look back, an oncoming car hit me. So my window was up on the passenger side, but I just went straight through the passenger window and then landed on the floor. And yeah, lost consciousness for the part where I went through the window, and then remember waking up on the floor with people around me. So strange. There was a woman holding my hand the whole time. I can't remember what she looks like, but she was holding my hand the whole time saying, it's going to be okay, tell me about your family, tell me about your life. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Take your time.
And I had no idea who she was. And yeah, she was there the whole time holding my hand. And I can just remember being absolutely freezing cold and like really wanting to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And thinking, just don't go to sleep. Like everybody there was saying, don't fall asleep, just stay awake, just talk to us. Everyone was asking me so many questions. And yeah, I just remember, don't go to sleep, because if you go to sleep, how everyone's going on about you not going to sleep, you might not wake up.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily in pain. I couldn't move my neck. Yeah, I was just sort of laying there on the floor of the M4, waiting for someone to do something. And then I was there for like a good few hours, laying on the floor, absolutely freezing. And then the ambulance service came, put me in the ambulance, and then gave me, I think they gave me ketamine as a painkiller.
Yeah.
And then I can't really remember getting to the hospital. At the beginning, I thought Courtney was in the car with me, because the night before we'd been in the car together. So I was saying, oh, where's my boyfriend? Where's my boyfriend? So they were looking for Courtney, and Courtney was at home. So it turned out that they called Courtney before they called my parents, because they were like are you around? Has he fled the scene sort of thing? And they couldn't understand how I was outside of the car. Had someone else been driving and had he fled sort of thing? So they rang Courtney to say, is this your girlfriend? She's been in an accident. And then they said it was like nothing. They said it was minor. I just had a few cuts and bruises. So he got in the car to come to the Heath and then thought, oh my God, I don't know if her mum and dad know. Then rang my mum and dad. And then the first 3 days after are quite blurry, actually. I had loads of glass in my cheek, in my neck. I've still got glass in the back of my neck. I can feel it behind my ear and in my neck. But because my neck was broken, they couldn't turn my neck to get to certain pieces of glass. So I was sat for hours with them just taking glass out of my face and out of my neck. My family couldn't see me. And then I think Courtney went to the toilet and he saw my hand and he thought, that's her hand. So he came in. And then, so they removed all of the glass, put me into like a big yellow box. And I didn't realise how bad I was until my mum came in and was sobbing. Yeah. And then I thought, gosh, I must look bad. And then I had internal bleeding then the next day. They found out I had internal bleeding from my pelvis. So that was like a major thing that they wanted to sort out. They gave me 2 blood transfusions. And then I had like a metal plate put into my jaw. So that was the only surgery I had. But when I was bleeding internally, that was like the scariest moment for my family. They thought that was going to be like, going to cause me to die, basically.
Yeah. That's crazy. So really, obviously, you're very, very, very lucky to obviously be alive. Because if that car was maybe travelling a little bit faster, or if you did make the decision to go over from that seat to that seat, it could have been way worse.
Yeah, they said in the hospital, actually, if I'd stayed sat down, I could have lost my legs if I'd stayed sat where I was in my driver's seat. And then I think about, so many things, like the fact that I kept my jacket on. I had like a big aviator coat and I always take my coat off if I'm driving for a long period of time. The fact that I kept my coat on saved me from having scars all over my arms as well. And then the fact that when I was on all fours and I thought, I wonder how close they are, and I looked back like that. So I went through like that. Yeah. And then all the scars are here and behind my ear. But imagine if I'd gone through front way, I could have lost my vision. The glass would have been here, so they had to shave the back of my head to get the glass out. But the glass would have been there, so I would have had a buzz cut by now. So just loads of little things that I did that day that, ultimately
saved
changed.
Your life, really.
Saved me from worse injuries.
Well, fair play to you, because the recovery, obviously, as we can see, you're back to full recovery, which I think is absolutely amazing. How did it affect you short term, physically and mentally, would you say?
God, I was in bed for 3 months.
3 months?
3 months. So I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. Couldn't even walk to begin with. I was in a wheelchair at first. Then gradually went on to crutches. I was in hospital for 3 weeks. And then I got home. And I'd wanted to go home, but then when I got home, I wanted to go back to the hospital because I just felt safe there. So I missed the hospital, weirdly, for like a good month, just because I knew there was always someone constantly there. Whereas then when I was home, my mum was in work. My boyfriend had a little bit of time off, but then he went back to work. Everyone's lives continued, and I was just like laying in bed in a neck brace. Couldn't like get myself to the bathroom, couldn't shower, couldn't even bath myself. I had to have a friend come over, my good friend Isabel. She was coming over every day, bathing me, helping me get dressed. And then it took a really long time. I'd say I was in hospital for 3 weeks, and then probably about 6 weeks after, it was really bad. And I had like full care, someone with me constantly. And then gradually I was able to start bathing myself and things, or able to manage to dress myself if somebody wasn't there. But it was just a really, really long time. And physically, obviously, I couldn't really do anything for myself. But then as my body started to heal slightly, it was all of the mental side effects kicking in. And I was on opioids for like 3 months. So then coming off opioids, like my mental health was so bad. like really bad PTSD, and just like thinking the worst of everything. I'm still quite like it now, to be honest. Like I was in a building the other day and there was a massive chandelier on the ceiling, and I just thought, that's just going to drop from the sky and land on me in a second. Like, who thinks things like that? Just little things like PTSD has like a really funny way of showing up. And it is with cars, but it's not just with cars. It's everything. I think about everything. I have to do, like, what do they call it?
Risk assessment.
Risk assessment, everything I do, I have to do a risk assessment in my head.
That's understandable though, because it's like obviously very traumatic. Yeah. How important would you say your like close-knit network of people were in that period of time? So obviously Courtney, your mum and dad, your best friends. Yeah, massively. Do you know what? I wasn't allowed to have many people coming in the hospital because they knew I was Miss Wales. They were a bit kinder to me. So my mum would come in the day, and then Courtney would come in every single night. And when I was able to use crutches, he would say, I'm coming past in my work van, have a look out the window, and I'd see him drive past, and then he would come back an hour later, sit with me. Courtney was absolutely amazing. Like, it makes me emotional now thinking about it, because we'd only been together for 3 months. So like, he didn't have to, take it on board how he did. But he was absolute godsend. So when my mum was like my full-time carer for a while, but then Courtney would come over on the weekends and stay, and he would look after me, so to give my mum a break. And then if my mum had to go to work, my best friend Isabel was coming over every day and bathing me. Eternally grateful for everything they did for me, and just massively helped me. My mum was my rock. I would literally wake up every morning and just be laying there in this neck brace, sleeping on this funny thing that I had to sleep on, and I would just sob, and my mum would just soothe me and say, it's going to be okay, you're going to get better, like, you're so lucky. And at that time you don't feel lucky, but you need somebody there to say you're going to be absolutely fine, like life is going to continue, and you're young, and things will get better. Yeah, having people who are like positive around you is so important in that.
Massively.
When you're on a massive low or something that's traumatic, having people around you giving you that positive reinforcement is so important. So let's talk a bit more after the recovery then. So after the recovery, how long was it before it was competing again then? And how did you feel?
I was due to go in May. Yeah. So when I had my accident in the January, Miss World actually came to visit me in the hospital, and the owners of Miss World. Yeah. And they told us that it would be in May. So at that time, I remember getting out of the hospital, and seriously, I was that close to saying to my director, send the runner-up. I can't go. I can't face it. It's too much. Like, I didn't even feel like the girl who entered and won Miss Wales at that time. I felt like a completely different person. So it just felt like it would have been false to go, but then also terrible to give up the opportunity. But then they postponed it, and that was like a godsend. They postponed it until September, and I thought, right, I have got a good amount of time now to recover, not just physically but mentally, get myself strong again. And then they postponed it again to November. And I thought, right, that gives me even more time. Then they postponed it again to February. And I was like, right, after this last postponement, I was a bit annoyed. I was like, right, I'm ready to go now. Like, it's been long enough. You were
raring to go.
Yeah, I was ready to go. I'd like got myself to the point where I was getting excited for it and really preparing. But ultimately, I thought I was going to have 3 months to prepare to compete. And I had over a year, so that was a godsend to me. Everybody else was getting really fed up of the postponements, but for me, I was like, phew, it gives me longer to recover. I had a year to really get myself back in the swing of things, and it was hard to get back into the swing of it. I was so out of touch with everything. Like, because of my pelvis, I couldn't walk properly in the heels, so just felt like an imposter a little bit.
Yeah. You had a bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So where you feel like you don't quite belong, but really, obviously, you do.
Yeah.
So let's go into Miss World then. So obviously, we touched on it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But can you tell me about the sort of activities and everything you... Sorry, fucking hell. everything you had to do whilst you were there. Like, what sort of... I know you'd done like a sports part. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was intense. There was the Beauty with a Purpose project.
Yeah.
That's all done before you get there. So you have to enter a video entry talking about all the work that you've done as Miss Wales or Miss Sweden or wherever you're from. So that was already in the bag before I went. And to be honest, before my accident, I'd already done all of my Beauty with a Purpose project things. So I didn't really need to push myself in that aspect. It was just getting the video ready as like my evidence. Then they do talent round, which I...
What do you do?
I sang.
You sang?
I sang Calon Lan, but I got there and I like sort of felt a bit chickeny about it. I was like, I don't know if I want to sing Calon Lan.
Fair play to you.
I was actually, a few days before the entry for it, I was like, right, I'm scrapping the singing. I'm going to do accents of the world and I'm just going to take each girl off. So I'll go on as Miss Wales, then I'll go into... I don't know, Miss Belgium, Miss France, and just take everyone off. I thought it would be funny and just different. But I stuck with the singing. My director was like, I think you should stick with the singing. Stuck with it and made it to the final of the talent, which was
amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Just as I was about to go on stage as well, Steve Morley, he was like introducing me, and he was like, and this girl was in the hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I was like, you couldn't have done that after. I'm literally nearly bawling my eyes out behind. Then there was the sports round. Sports round was really fun. We did bleep test. And then after the bleep test, that was just like to get you into the final. And then after the bleep test, we put on music and literally every girl was like putting on their favourite song and everyone was just like dancing, which was, amazing. And then, trying to think of the other rounds now. Top model round, basically just walking. And then Welsh designer, so everybody had to get an outfit made by a designer. So Nathan Palmer made me a stunning dress. So top model I didn't advance in. Sports I did. I don't even know how. I think maybe...
What sport was it?
So it was a bleep test, was like the entry.
What's the one where you're in like, you got like a... Is it like baseball or something?
Yeah, cricket.
Cricket,
in the cricket gear. Yeah, we didn't actually play cricket. We just like stood and they bat the ball and you have to hit the ball. But it was so cool. We had like young kids from India who were like involved in cricket come out and teach us how to do
nice.
it. We did a bit of hockey as well, basically just like penalty shootouts with a hockey stick and football penalty shootouts. So it wasn't like, I dreaded the sports thinking I am not going to be able to do the sports. Like I just thought I'll put the outfit on, have my photos, that'll be it. But when I got there, the bleep test I would say was the hardest part. And the next day my pelvis was like, girl, why did you do the bleep test? But I think it was just a thing for me. Like I wanted to do it because for so long I'd dreaded it and I didn't even think that I was like, there was a point where I thought I was going to be going on to Miss World on crutches. So I just thought like it was a nice moment to say to myself like, oh, look, you did the bleep test, you got into the sports. And I think my mental strength got me through the bleep test. It was nothing to do with like my agility or anything like that. I'm not a runner at all. It was just, I kept saying, if you can recover from an accident like that, you can keep running. Like you can outrun everyone. Anything. Just keep going. Just keep going. So that just kept me going. And then in the end, I was like, I have to stop my pelvis. I have to stop. But yeah, the sports wasn't too much. It was like, quite chilled activities. So I was able to do all of them. Yeah,
amazing. You must have met some amazing people as well. So what sort of relationships did you make while you were there?
Oh gosh, the girls were just absolutely amazing.
Girls from everywhere.
Yeah, from everywhere. We were in groups, so we were Blue Group and we were Europe.
Oh, okay.
So I did spend a lot more time with the European girls, and then Asia as well. I'd say I was mostly with the European girls and the Asian girls. Oh my God, the girls were absolutely amazing. I remember thinking, I wonder if they're going to be like stuck up or snooty and not down to earth. They were all so down to earth, which I loved. Like I like to connect with people, really get to know them on a deeper level. Yeah. And I thought that I was a little bit worried that I was going to go and it was going to be quite superficial. But I got there and I was able to connect with so many girls like on a deeper level and like really talk with them and get to know them, and it was amazing. Oh,
that's good because you do get that perception a little bit from like the outside in. Yeah. And it's crazy that you had that perception from like Miss Wales into Miss World. So like people from outside of Miss Wales think it's a little bit, you don't know if they're going to be a little bit stuck up or like arrogant maybe.
Yeah, and like Welsh girls are so down to earth. Everyone in Wales is just like, you get what you get type of thing. So I knew that competing in Miss Wales was going to be not not massively comparable
Yeah.
in terms of the girls, because all us Welsh girls, everyone gets on, everyone's so similar. And then when you go to a world stage and you've got girls from every single country and every continent, it's like, yeah, how is the like the culture differences, and sometimes different cultures approach people in different ways, and some people can be more closed off or more reserved. But yeah, the girls that I did connect with were amazing, and I'll stay in touch with them. And whenever I go to a different country, I'll be sure to message the girl.
That's class. So it's something that you'll take, obviously, memories for life, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so this brings me on to the defining moments segment.
Nice.
So this is the part where you explain 3 pictures, why they're significant in your journey today, and what's the importance behind them. So can you start by telling us what the first picture is?
So the first picture is me winning Miss Wales.
Yeah.
That was, a massive moment in life. Huge celebration. I was so proud and I wanted it so much. So to get it and have all my hard work be, have it all paid off, and everybody acknowledge the work that I'd been putting in, and for people to see that the work I was doing was relevant and needed in Wales. That was a massive moment. Miss Wales, changed the course of my life. We were talking earlier about how there were many things that I had dreamed of, and they all sort of came to me. The 3 things I wanted or thought I wanted in life came to me at once, and I stuck with Miss Wales. And I'm glad I did, because it's just made me into a well-rounded individual. Like, I would talk to anybody, not scared to do anything. I literally, if somebody said to me, there's a ticket to Tokyo tomorrow, go, but you can only go on your own, I would go for the experience. So it's given me so many life lessons, and just it's made me who I am today. So
really, that probably is the most pivotal
massively
in your career to date, really, isn't it? Because
definitely.
If it wasn't for that win, Miss Wales, then you wouldn't have done all the other stuff you've done since then. Okay, amazing. What about picture 2? Why is it important?
Picture 2 is from my accident. That's important because that experience has taught me to value life, and you really, everybody says it, but it's so true. You don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow, and just to chase every dream. Don't leave any stone unturned. If you feel like you need to turn that stone, turn it, and don't waste time. Be proactive and be happy with what you have, because when it gets stripped back, you really realise the things that you take for granted.
100%. And when it comes to something like that, it kind of highlights what isn't important in life. So obviously day to day we can take things for granted massively, like family, relationships, things like that. So I think a moment in life which is so traumatic, I think kind of highlights what is actually important, and the other stuff we can kind of discard, and it wouldn't really make a difference
even
if we had it or not.
If I'm struggling now, like if something's going on in life and I'm struggling, I just think I've got breath in my lungs. Everything else is background noise. As long as I'm breathing and I'm able to get up in the morning and walk myself to the toilet and do things for myself, dress myself. So to go from not being able to do that and then having it all come back, it makes you really grateful. Yeah,
and also strength as well. So coming back from something like that gives you so much strength and like power in yourself, in your heart, in your head, that whenever difficult times maybe do arise in the future, it's not likely to be as bad as that. You know what I mean? So if you can climb out of that hole, likelihood is you can climb out of anything.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to the 3rd picture. Why is that a defining moment for you?
3rd picture is from my volunteer trip in Ghana. That was another moment. So I had my accident, and then in the September I went to Ghana. I was in hospital in a neck brace, and I was like, I need to go on a volunteer trip. It made me do the things that I'd been saying for years. Oh, I need to do this, or I want to do that. So it led me on to my volunteer trip, which maybe I wouldn't have been proactive in booking had it not have been. I think it would be one of those things that I say every year, oh, next year I want to do it, next year I want to do it. So I went, and I felt like I had that life-changing experience with the accident, and then I wanted a different experience to make me look at life from a different perspective. So going to a foreign country, living with a Ghanaian family, like enriching myself in their culture and their food, and just having a massive culture shock and seeing how other people live and what other people lack or don't have made me really grateful for the life that I do have. And to us, they don't have a lot, but to them, they have everything they need and they're so happy. So it just made me realise that, you know, I might not have this or I might not have that, or I might not be going there or doing this, but what I do have is enough, and to be content, and just to be able to go and help other people and see how they live and give a piece of myself to others and then take from them what I've learned. I need to go back.
It gives you a bit of perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, massively.
So like, obviously we're in a first world country here, so the way we live is completely different to how they would live. And there's a saying where it's like, there could be like a multi-millionaire who's the most unhappy person in the world,
100%.
and then you can also have someone who doesn't have very much at all, but they're extremely happy with what they have. And I think that kind of hits home. So what sort of things were you doing in Ghana with the locals there?
So I was teaching English in a school, which was, I knew I was going there to teach English, but when I got there and I had to teach English, I was like, their English is way better than I thought it was. I thought that I was going to be teaching really easy English, but their English was absolutely amazing. I was like really shocked. So I was teaching them like where, certain things that they might not have been taught before. And then I also volunteered in a children's orphanage, and that was what hit me the most. We had to fight actually to be able to go to the orphanage, because UNICEF are like putting all of these rules in place that means that volunteers can't go in, because they've said that there are too many volunteers going and adopting children, which I don't personally see the issue, but they're saying that children are being taken out of their home countries and taken to completely different countries, and they would rather them stay in their home countries. But the orphanage is the part that hit me the most. Like the children in the school were really happy, and I was actually a little bit surprised at how the standard of education was really good. So I was quite surprised, and then I went to the orphanage, and then that is when it like hit me, the reality of what can happen to certain women who may get pregnant. Like the one day we went in and there was like a newborn baby. Literally, newborn baby had just been left on the door. It was a massive shock. It was devastating.
That's horrible.
I just wanted to pick them all up and put them on a plane and bring them all home.
Well, that says a lot about your personality, doesn't it? So obviously you have like a loving and caring personality, so going somewhere like that kind of taps into your heart, I guess.
It was sad to actually see that the orphanage was run by nuns and funded by the church, but then there were like sisters who worked there. They weren't nuns, just women who worked there. And the children didn't really have the best treatment by those women, I wouldn't say. Being honest, if it was in our country, it would be classed as child abuse. Some of the things that were going on there. So to be able to go in and just like hold these babies and hug them, and like they loved being hugged, and just like there was one little boy, he would literally just lay on me all day, and just like I would just play with his hair, and you could tell that he just missed having like love and just being comforted and shown like some emotion. Like they really didn't have any TLC at all, so it was nice to just be able to go and give them hugs and crutches and just like sit with them and play with them.
That's so nice of you to do. And would you say that you would be up for going again and
100%.
doing the same sort of thing? Would you go back to Ghana?
I think I'd go back to Ghana. I think it's got like a special place in my heart. I remember when I was there and I was like, Mum, you have to come with me, Courtney, you have to come with. But now I've got the connection with the guy. I went through Plan My Gap Year. But now I've got the connection with the guy who like runs the house out there and lives out there. I could just go through him. I stayed in like a room, and it was looked like a dorm room. It was all bunk beds, but he did have a double room with an ensuite. So he said, like, if you come back, you can have that one. You don't have to stay in the bunk beds. So I need to plan it. That needs to be another thing that I don't just say for years and years, I'll go back. I need to go back.
And is that the sort of thing that we can expect to see from you in the future?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
more charitable work and stuff like that. Is that something that would be like near future or?
Yeah, so I've got a particular interest. I would love to help women who have been abused with domestic abuse or domestic violence, sexual violence. And I always think to myself, I would love to start going into schools because I've experienced both. I'm very fortunate. I've got a beautiful boyfriend who would never treat me like that. But yeah, I've experienced it in the past, and you know, those things stay with you. They don't leave. And I was quite young when I experienced those things. And you know, everything makes you into the person that you are. I'm really headstrong and things. But I think I would love to start going into schools and just talking to young girls about like the importance of consent and, you know, the red flags that you need to pick up on. And, you know, if your friend is with someone and they can see the red flags, but they still stay in, you know, just encourage them to leave and don't be afraid to come forward and speak to the police if you need to speak to the police. I think in our country, there needs to be more emphasis on like education for relationships for women and men as well.
Yeah, for sure.
There's so many women and men who are experiencing sexual abuse, domestic violence, and you know, there's signs to look out for, and I saw the signs at the time and just ignored them. So, you know, really, as you know, I'm 23, so maybe if I could go into schools and speak with like 17-year-old girls coming from a 23-year-old, hopefully they'll listen, sort of thing. So that's something that I really want to do. It's just I'm having a little bit of time to myself at the moment, but definitely want to help other people. That's
amazing. It's good that you're open to sharing your experience in that sort of realm, should we say, and willing to offer younger girls that sort of advice, because I can imagine it's really hard to talk about. So the fact that you're willing to go and speak about that and help other people is amazing. Okay, so the audience at home, what would you like them to take away from this podcast, from yourself? If there was a bit of advice, what would you like them to take away from here?
Oh, that's a good one. I think know what you want in life. If you don't know, expose yourself to lots of different people who are doing lots of different things. And if you don't know, don't tie yourself down. Like, I still don't know what I want to do eventually. But I never tied myself down to one thing. That's why I never went to university, because I didn't want to be tied to one job. I always want to reinvent myself and try lots of different things. So if you know what you want to do everything in your power to make that happen. Talk to people who have done it before, message people who are in the position that you want to be in eventually. Manifestation is great as well. And just keep your goals in mind. And then if you don't know what you want to do, don't tie yourself down to something because you'll be miserable eventually when the time comes that you want to move into something else. So maybe just stay fluid and keep an eye out as to different people talking about what they do. And
you've got to be flexible, haven't you? If you don't know what you want to do, that is. If you know what you want to do, then that's amazing, because not many people do.
Exactly.
So what about guests moving forward then? Is there someone that springs to your mind and you're like, oh, they would be amazing to have on this podcast?
Yeah, I think Emma Jenkins would be really good for you to have on. She was Miss Wales, and then she also won Miss Universe GB. So she's been to the top 2 pageants, Miss World and Miss Universe.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she does some presenting on S4C. She's a makeup artist. She's one of those people, she could literally do anything. So I think she would be really good. She goes into colleges and gives advice to young people who don't know what they want to do yet. I think she'd be really good on here.
Yeah, that's amazing. We'll have to reach out in the future. What was I going to say? Closing statements then. Where can the people find you on social media if they want to come and keep up to date with your sort of day-to-day living and life?
So my social media is Darcey Corria, I believe. I've just gone private, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, weirdly. I've gone private for a little bit.
That's okay. Sometimes you need a little detox, don't you, from social media?
Yeah, I feel like at the moment where I'm at, I'm just having some time to myself to just breathe and take in the whirlwind that has been the last 2 years. But my Instagram is Darcey Corria. I think my TikTok is Darcey Lauren. Not that I even use TikTok much. I'm having a little bit of a breather.
Yeah. Sometimes it is good to have a detox, because social media, as you know, can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it can apply a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I found that with Miss Wales. I found that was probably the biggest pressure, and nobody else put it on me. I put it on myself. It's just the pressure of, oh well, Miss France has posted this, and Miss Sweden's made this video, and I haven't done anything this week. So I think at the moment it's just nice to know that I don't have to post if I don't want to post.
Yeah,
and at the moment I don't
want
to.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I wish you all the very best for the future, and I wish you every success with whatever you decide to do next. As always, please like, share and subscribe to our channel as it helps us grow, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.
Capable Minds Podcast.